Yeah, I get right to the racks. Then I make that shit back. Run up on me, get shot in the back.
It's James TV in the building for your Scott Trump, man. Back another Zad reacts. That's the reaction.
If it's your first time tuning in,
we have inside Eazy-E's Deep Mexican Game Time.
Oh, we're gonna do Eazy-E. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. He's like the only black essay they said in the thumbnail. So.
Yo, welcome to the favorite channel of the favorite channel watchers. This channel right here.
Your favorite reactors.
Yeah, your favorite reactors. Subscribe to the channel, request a content, and then we react. This is a super dope concept. Father, I'm 67 years old. Son, he's 15, going on 16 tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And we review stuff from around the world. Random stuff, hip-hop culture, and all of that. So, thank you for tuning in. There's a Discord below. Make sure you join that. Follow him on Instagram.
And watch your hoe. Oh, that was right.
Yeah.
Discord below and watch your hoe.
Yeah, Discord below and let don't know.
It's Jerry TV. It's hard too, man. We're talking.
Easy, because, you know, Easy had...
Busy Bone.
Who's Busy
Real
Bone?
Backup.
Oh, yeah. It's still, like, people still ride for Easy.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
Cut
Busy.
your head off. Leave it on the porch type backup.
Real these guys ain't rappers. These guys are real gangsters.
How you hook up with Eazy-E? Because, I mean, you're on Ruthless Records now.
Yeah, we plugged up with the homie 3 years ago. He heard our music through some other people. He met us. He found out we real in the streets, you know.
Oh wow.
So he wanted to fuck us.
Rolling in my rack top, the Eazy-E headed east side, let's say.
We got to Ruthless when the Death Row Ruthless beef was cracking. So they thought they were gonna overpower my boy because my boy was by himself. But you know Destiny took Toker and the Brownside clique to Ruthless. He told E, we rolling with you. We got your back. What's cracking with this Death Row Ruthless shit? Who you want gone? Cause we ain't around.
Eazy-E was always known for his strong ties to the Southside Crips, a dominant force in Compton that had his back no matter what. But what a lot of people don't realize is there was another powerful force standing right behind him, Ride or Die, the Mexican gangs of Compton. In fact, some say these guys were even more loyal to Eazy than anyone else. And when you hear the stories, it's not hard to see why.
Because they love Eazy-E too. Number low riders, the Brownside guys, and you know, rest in heaven, Toker. Easy, because, you know, Easy had real backup.
Oh, yeah. It's still, like, people still ride for Easy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Cut your head off. Leave it on the porch type backup.
One major example of this loyalty came when there were rumors that the KKK had allegedly put a hit out on Eazy. Now, whether or not that story was blown out of proportion, Eazy himself reportedly said that if anything had happened to him, it would have set off a full-scale riot in Compton. Why? Because the Mexican gangs would have gone to war for him. That's how deep their loyalty ran.
And he said, you remember when the KKK had that hit on me? And he said, I bet if something had happened to me, the Mexicans would have been down, you know? And he said, if something happened to me, he goes, I think there would have been a riot.
Then there was all the drama between Death Row Records and Ruthless Records, a beef that was constantly on the brink of violence.
I had no idea the Mexican... They didn't even say this in the NWA movie. Where does the Mexican representation in the NWA movie?
And then to bring you up to speed, you know the movie NWA, you know the group NWA. Eazy-E was one of the founding members. It was DJ Yella, Eazy-E. It was Dr. Dre. It was MC Ren, and Ice Cube. And then I had a big rift because the manager was stealing all the money, but Eazy-E was making money off of that too, but he didn't tell the group, so the group left, allegedly. This is all allegedly.
Hypothetically?
Drama between Death Row Records and Ruthless Records, a beef that was constantly on the brink of violence. Everyone knows how ruthless Suge Knight could be, but apparently we now know that if Suge had so much as laid a finger on Eazy, the Latinos would have been ready to roll. No questions asked. They were ready to go to bat for him at any moment. And Eazy knew he could count on them to have his back, no matter what.
He did?
Eazy had that bread, man, because he was a businessman.
Oh, wow.
Eazy-E was a hell of a businessman.
I mean, I didn't know that Raza had this much love for him. Is it because he put some of them on, like Brownside on, or?
Yeah, he just had a connection with them.
Eazy definitely brought the heat to Death Row, because Suge knew not to mess with the Sureños.
We got to Ruthless when the Death Row Ruthless beef was cracking. So they thought they were gonna overpower my boy because my boy was by himself. But you know, Destiny's a
Eazy always had a deep respect for Chicano culture and was genuinely into the Latin side of hip-hop. That love for the scene led him to sign Brownside, a Chicano rap group led by the late Toker, a real street legend.
Eric, like, Eric was always into the Chicano rap, and well, not even Chicano rap, he was just into the Latinos, because he knew that they were his fans. He had already signed the Brownside, and then he ended up signing Kid Frost, and we ended up working on the Brownside record, you know what I mean? And you know, that was his thing. He thought everything was about the Latinos, you know what I mean?
According to Toker, the connection with Eazy happened pretty naturally. Eazy heard one of Brownside's tracks through a mutual acquaintance, and the rest was history. He reached out, they met up, and from there, it was all love.
How you hook up with Eazy-E? Cause I mean, you're on Ruthless Records now.
Yeah, we plugged up with homie 3 years ago. He heard our music through some other people. He met us. He found out we real on the streets, you know.
So
he wanted to.
But here's the thing. Brownside wasn't just a rap group trying to make it big. These guys were the real deal. They were gang affiliated and had serious weight in the streets. People who knew them back then would often say that just standing in the same room with these dudes was enough to make someone's knees buckle. Their reputation was no joke.
Yeah, Toker, yeah, they were all Ruthless, man, yeah. Another dude that ain't no joke. Toker was one of the few cats that I just was nervous. Like,
he's raw as hell, basically.
He just one of them dudes. He's cool. He was super cool.
Yeah.
He's super cool. But you can tell it's a gun somewhere. It's strapped somewhere around here.
Real These guys ain't rappers. These guys are real gangsters. Because I worked with other gangster rappers. These guys are real.
That's part of what drew Eazy to.
So you think Eazy-E was very smart? He was smart enough to affiliate himself with the Brownside because the Mexicans run deep. You know what I mean?
Eazy-E's higher IQ. He noticed his fans were Mexican. He has Latino fans. Most of California is Latino. Why not sign Latino artists? Latinos are very loyal. We're loyal people. Why not support the Raza movement?
Yeah, like you're loyal. Like you would just stop right now what you're doing, hit the subscribe button and a notification.
Especially the like.
Yeah, all that shit.
To them, he loved how the Latino gangs treated each other like family, loyal to the core, no questions asked.
I just said
to
that.
them, your homies were your blood, and they'd go to war for you in a heartbeat. Eazy admired that ride or die mentality and kept them close. He knew that if things ever turned dangerous, and they often did in Eazy's world, these were the guys who would step up without hesitation. Eazy even trusted the Brownside crew so much that when his health started seriously declining, they were the only ones he trusted to take him to the hospital. Think about that. At a time when his world was crashing down and his body was failing him, he didn't turn to just anyone. He leaned.
He had HIV.
Oh shit.
Yeah, AIDS. He was sick, and then he was coughing, and then he was coughing blood and passed out or something. But today we have medicine that can counter that. It's unfortunate because if he was around, things would be really different.
Wow, that is true.
On Toker and his homies. And that bond didn't just end with Eazy's death. Even after he passed away, the Latinos continued to hold it down for him and his family. They were there for Eazy's son, Lil Eazy-E, and made sure he knew he had people in his corner.
Told me, he said, E, we already talked. The homies gonna line up, and they gonna grab you, and we just gonna lay on the floor. You know, and then whenever it go up, we just gonna grab you and lay on the floor.
There's so much more to unpack, so let's dive in deeper. Eazy-E's connection with the Mexican community runs deeper than most people realize. Long before he signed legendary Chicano rap groups or worked with Latino artists, Eazy had tight relationships with the Mexican homies in his circle. One of his closest friends early on was a Mexican-American named Damon Trujillo, better known as Crazy D. If you look closely at the cover of NWA and the Posse, NWA's very first album, you'll notice something that threw fans off for years. Here's the thing, NWA stood for N with attitude, so when people saw the album cover, they couldn't help but wonder who the one person that obviously didn't fit the name was. At first, rumors started floating around that someone might have photoshopped themselves into the iconic picture, but if you go back and look up the real album cover, they're all the same. No edits, no tricks. That man standing proudly in the photo is Crazy D. Crazy D wasn't just there for the picture though. At that time, he was actually more involved with NWA than some of its core members, like MC Ren, who only ended up in the photo because he happened to be with his friends that day. Crazy D wasn't just part of the crew. He was contributing to their music too. In fact, he was credited on NWA's first single ever, Panic Zone, where he helped shape the sound they were building. In a way, Crazy D proves that Eazy's bond with the Mexican community was there from the very beginning. But Eazy's relationship with the Latino community didn't stop there. Years later, he would go on to cement that connection in a big way when he signed Brownside, a Chicano rap group led by the late Toker, as well as another groundbreaking Mexican rapper, Kid Frost. At a time when Latino rap wasn't taken seriously in the mainstream, Eazy-E he saw something.
But it's so interesting. He said that the Latino rap scene wasn't taken seriously. I feel like Latinos, even in the 90s, Latinos were pretty deep. I guess the industry in general wasn't pushing Latino rap.
But this is prior to the 90s. This is like 88-ish, 87, 91, 90. I think Eazy died in 90 maybe. 91.
I'm just wondering like how Latinos didn't have a bigger... They weren't pushed, really, I would say.
Well, I'll tell you what, from my experience, I can't really speak for the Cali scene, but in New York, like, the Spanish guys didn't really talk Spanish. They talk English because that's what everybody
was talking.
But when reggaeton came, I started seeing kids, everybody talking Spanish, people prod.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, reggaeton was a big movement, but the Mexicans have always had that because they have their not cumbia. Cumbia is Colombian. But they have their music that they like as well. You know what I'm saying?
The corridos.
The corridos.
Others didn't. He was ahead of his time and foresaw that the Chicano rap movement was going to be a force to reckon with.
He had already signed the Brownside, and then he ended up signing Kid Frost, and we ended up working on the Brownside record. You know what I mean?
It's familiar, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, that was his thing. You know what I mean? He had that mind state about it because he knew that was coming. Like I said, the guy was ahead of his time.
Brownside, in particular, was something special. Under Eazy's guidance, they became pioneers of Chicano rap, laying down the blueprint for how the genre would sound and feel. But Brownside wasn't just another rap group trying to capitalize on a trend. These guys were real gangsters, straight out of the streets, with stories to tell. Everything they rapped about was authentic. There were no exaggerations, no clout-chasing antics, just raw, real-life experiences that reflected who they were.
Came up and started blasting because I knew they couldn't fake it. Jokers on the loose. And I'm straight gang related.
One of the most legendary stories about Brownside's loyalty to Eazy comes from the height of the infamous Ruthless Records versus Death Row Records beef. The war between Eazy-E and Suge Knight was no joke. Death Row was known for being aggressive, and Suge Knight's reputation for intimidation was well earned. But as Toker later explained, Brownside played a huge role in keeping Eazy safe during this time. According to Toker, he and the Brownside crew showed up at Ruthless Records right when things started getting heated between Eazy and Suge. Toker described it as almost fate, like destiny brought them there at just the right time. Death Row's crew had assumed they could overpower Eazy because they thought he was alone and vulnerable, but they were wrong. Brownside was already there, ready to ride for Eazy without hesitation. Toker said they let Eazy know straight up, "We're here, and we're ready to back you up no matter what."
Wow. We got to Ruthless when the Death Row Ruthless beef was cracking. So they thought they were gonna overpower my boy because my boy was by himself.
Toker died in Mexico,
But
right?
you know, Destiny.
I don't know. I was gonna ask that. Like, how did he pass?
Yeah, it happened recently, right? No, because how old is this?
I don't know. Oh, this video is like a month older than.
Shout out to Toker. Rest in peace.
Destiny took Toker and the Brownside clique to Ruthless.
Toker said that during one of their conversations, they told Eazy straight up, "If there's anyone you want gone, just say the word." Eazy, being the kind of guy he was, tried to brush it off. He told them, "It's not like that, man," trying to downplay the situation. But Toker wasn't having it. He looked Eazy in the eye and said, "Nah, it's exactly like that."
We told E, we rolling with we got your back. What's cracking with this Death Row Ruthless? Who you want gone?
Who you want gone, bro?
Toker made it clear to Eazy that if he just mentioned a name, they'd handle it, and he wasn't bluffing. Toker said they had youngins, kids who were 15 or 16 years old, that were more than ready to step up and do the job. In Toker's words, at most they'll let them out when they're 22, so you don't gotta worry about a thing.
Oh, wow.
That's how serious they were.
All right, don't worry about it, E. I'm gonna send my little young juvenile torpedo so they can go ahead and do YA life. They're gonna let my boys out when they're 22 years old. Don't worry about it.
After that conversation, things between Eazy and the Mexican community became even tighter. Eazy knew he had an army behind him. Wherever he went, fancy restaurants, important meetings, or events, he'd call up Brownside and his Mexican homies to roll with him. They weren't just there for show either. These guys were ready for whatever. They were hoping to run into anyone from Death Row Records so they could make a statement and prove to Eazy that they had his back till the very end.
Everywhere he went, he called his Mexicans. He called his brown brothers. Where you at? What's cracking? Swoop up over here, come in the Lolos. He be in Beverly Hills at an expensive restaurant. 20 Mexicans drive up. 20. Hoping we ran into somebody from that row. Hoping. Because we wanted to make a statement. But luckily, never.
And one day, they got their chance. According to Toker, Eazy was chilling at a Cheesecake Factory when about 7 or 8 guys claiming to be affiliated with Death Row appeared. These guys surrounded Eazy, trying to intimidate him. These dudes were trying to flex their strength, maybe thinking they'd caught him alone and vulnerable.
And there was like 7, 8 months that claimed Death Row waiting for their cars to pull up because they were leaving the Cheesecake Factory. Right when my boy E walked past them, they all surrounded it. What's up? And they were saying the N-word on it.
But they didn't realize what they had walked into. Out of nowhere, the tables turned. Suddenly, the Death Row guys found themselves surrounded, and not just by a few people. Toker described it as feeling like they were at a Mexican soccer field. The entire place was filled with Mexican gang members who showed up to protect Eazy. These weren't random guys either. They were real gangsters, people who didn't play around.
And all of a sudden, them 7, 8 months looked around like, we're surrounded. They thought they were at a Mexican soccer field surrounded by Mexican soccer players, but it was us. I said, what's up, man? You got beef with my brother Eazy? They were like, oh damn. You got beef with my little brother Eazy? You got beef with me.
Oh, that's their little brother? Wait, he's older? He's younger than Eazy? He's older than Eazy?
Yeah.
And he signed them. I mean, it doesn't mean nothing. But I'm just saying, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
And if you don't know...
Now you know.
Coming out with the heat. They were like, no, man.
The Death Row affiliates were completely shook. The intimidation game flipped on them real quick, and they knew they were outnumbered. Without wasting any time, they scrambled out of there, jumping into their cars and speeding off like their lives depended on it. And just to send a message, Toker and the crew didn't let them leave quietly. Toker told them straight up, in case y'all want to come back, you're more than welcome. We'll be right here waiting. This was a statement, one that made it loud and clear that Eazy-E wasn't alone. And if anyone thought they could intimidate him, they'd have to deal with the Mexican gangs of Compton. Now, to understand the weight of that moment, you've got to take a trip down memory lane and break down the bad blood between Eazy-E and Suge Knight. Their feud wasn't just petty insults or industry competition. It was the kind of rivalry where things could, and often did, turn violent. It's even rumored that at one point, Eazy wanted to handle Suge Knight himself, but was ultimately talked out of it.
Eazy wanted to Suge himself. He just wanted Suge. And Jerry talked him out of it.
The tension between Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, and the rest of NWA started long before things exploded. And at the root of it all was Jerry.
So he was the money behind Eazy-E was the money? He was the older guy, right?
Jerry Heller was the money. This dude.
How did he find them?
Huh?
How did he find them?
Oh, I don't know. You know,
it's in the movie,
people,
right?
the culture vultures. Go back a picture though. I want to give you a breakdown. This is probably the greatest
pick.
This is the greatest pick, but these people right here were super impactful. We're covering Eazy-E, but you got Ice Cube. Ice Cube did like the movie Friday. He did a bunch of movies. He don't do that much Hollywood now, but he got the NBA 3 league, the 3-on-3 player league. Ice Cube is huge. Dr. Dre, you know.
But who's the other guy?
Chronic. The light skinned dude with the chain. That's DJ Yella.
Is he broke now?
I think he's broke-ish. I mean, I can't count the man pockets, but maybe he made a couple good business deals, whatever. But he's not, as I'm saying, on a hip-hop impactful, like history, like impact on the culture. MC Ren as well was not as impactful after Eazy-E. Even though MC Ren was my favorite rapper, out of NWA.
Out of the West?
Yeah, MC Ren was nice.
Rest of NWA started long before things exploded, and at the root of it all was Jerry Heller, the group's manager. Back then, NWA was already making waves as one of the most iconic and groundbreaking hip-hop groups of all time. But behind the scenes, things were getting messy. Heller played a controversial role. Some saw him as the guy who helped put Ruthless Records on the map. Meanwhile, others thought he was the one tearing the group apart. From Dr. Dre's point of view, Jerry Heller wasn't managing NWA as a team. He was focusing all his time and attention on Eazy-E. To Dre and the others,
and
it
the
felt
money.
like Heller was playing favorites and using a divide-and-conquer strategy to keep the group under control. That favoritism, combined with suspicions about money, planted the seeds of resentment among the members. It didn't take long for cracks in the group's foundation to become impossible to ignore. As Ruthless Records started making serious money, people began asking questions, especially Dr. Dre and the Doc, who felt like they weren't seeing their fair share. They started wondering where all the money was going and whether something shady might be happening behind closed doors. The fact that Eazy and Heller seemed to be inseparable only made things worse. To Dre and the Doc, it looked like Heller was protecting Eazy's interests at the expense of the rest of the group. This frustration reached a...
Who are these people, bro?
Yo, DOC was down. He's NWA-ish. He have an album, bro. Yo, it's one of the best hip-hop albums. Nobody talk about DOC, bro. Unfortunately, he got in a car accident and he hit his throat on the steering wheel. Lost his voice.
What the fuck are the odds of that?
Yo, when you listen to this song, it's the diggy diggy doc, yo, he's on that level that for deep hip hop heads, like if you listen to Large Professor, Live at the Barbecue, like that kind of pure hip hop. Like those are like most of y'all not gonna know who it is, so I'll say again, Large Professor, Live at the Barbecue. Listen to that. That's when Nas made his appearance. But getting back to DOC lyrically was advanced. He wrote all his stuff. I mean, him and Derek Dre, super good friends.
And that's when Suge Knight entered the picture. Suge was already building a reputation for being one of the most intimidating figures in the industry, and Dr. Dre and the Doc saw him as someone who could help them get answers, and more importantly, get out. They sent Suge to dig into Eazy's finances and figure out what was really going on. The idea was simple. If something shady was happening, Suge would find out, and they could confront Eazy directly. But things didn't go the way Dre and the Doc had hoped. When they approached Eazy and asked him to release them from their contracts with Ruthless Records, Eazy refused. He wasn't about to let them walk away that easily, especially considering how much value Dre brought to the label. To Eazy, letting Dre and the Doc go would be like cutting off a huge chunk of Ruthless's future, and he wasn't ready to take that hit. At that point, tensions went from bad to worse. Suge Knight wasn't the type to take no for an answer, and he decided to turn up the pressure. The story goes that during a recording session for NWA's Ninjas for Life album, Suge made a bold and honestly terrifying move. He allegedly told Eazy-E that he had kidnapped Jerry Heller and was holding him hostage in a van parked outside the studio.
Is that true?
But even with that supposed threat hanging in the air, Eazy still refused to let Dr. Dre and the Doc go. Eazy was stubborn, and no amount of intimidation was going to force his hand, at least not yet. But Suge wasn't done. If threatening Heller didn't work, he was willing to take things even further. That's when Suge pulled his most chilling move. According to the story, Suge handed Eazy a piece of paper with an address on it, his mother's address. That was the moment everything changed. It was a clear message, one that didn't need any further explanation.
Yo, Suge was that bad? I mean, they did hit him with the sit down a little bit. You know, he sat down. He's sitting down right now. And
I mean, yeah, Suge has always been the boogeyman. You know, people have been running from him. He loved that shit. Easy pickings. Crank. I'm not saying there hasn't been people to stand up to him, but the legend of Suge. You even know who Suge is
20, 30 years later.
23 years later.
Didn't let Dre and the Doc out of their contracts. His family could be in danger. For Eazy, that was the final straw. Faced with a threat like that, he felt like he had no choice. Reluctantly, he signed the release papers, freeing Dr. Dre and the Doc from their Ruthless Records contracts and essentially handing Dre over to Suge Knight's Death Row Records. Years later, this moment would become one of the most infamous stories in hip-hop history, and it's been the subject of endless speculation. Some people believe that Suge and his crew actually roughed up Eazy-E to force him into signing over Dre's contract. The Straight Outta Compton movie even dramatized this, showing a scene where Suge allegedly slapped Eazy around to make him comply.
Mouth.
But knowing what we know now about the Mexicans having Eazy's back, that story doesn't really hold water. It just doesn't add up. Eazy wasn't alone. Far from it.
But why would Dr. Dre or Ice Cube put that in the movie then?
They had to cover it because it was an important part. Oh, why they put in that he got beat up? I don't know. It could be possibly because he's not around, or he's not around to tell his side of the story. You know what I'm saying?
Mexican gangs in his corner, Eazy was also heavily tied to the Southside Crips, who were a major force in Compton. One of his key connections was with Keef D, a well-known figure in the Compton gang scene. Keef D's family even owned Compton Hydraulics, a car shop on Long Beach Boulevard in Compton. This wasn't just a place for car repairs. It was a hub where street culture, music, and business overlapped. Eazy grew up right in the middle of Southside Crip territory in the Kelly Park Compton Crip neighborhood. His close ties to Keef D's brother Kevin made him part of that circle in a way that went beyond music. In 1993, when Eazy filmed the video for his iconic diss track Real Motherfucking G's, he wasn't just throwing subliminal shots, he was making a statement. The video is packed with imagery that ties Eazy to the Southside Crips. One standout car, known as the Gangster of Love, was said to belong to either a prominent Southside Crip named Big Spank or someone from Keef D's family. In the video weren't just extras. They were part of Eazy's world, some of them throwing up Southside Crip signs.
Oh shit.
They were also rocking Seattle Mariners hats, a known Crip emblem with the S for Southside decked out in blue, the gang's color. Eazy himself sported a blue Mariners cap with a yellow S, cementing his affiliation in plain view. Adding to this mix was BG Knockout, one of the rappers on the track and someone connected to the Compton Nutty Block Crips.
That's Dr. Dre before makeup and shit.
BG Knockout and the crew backing Eazy were fiercely loyal, making it clear that Eazy wasn't someone you could mess with lightly. Both BG Knockout and Keef D have dismissed the idea of Suge ever laying a hand on Eazy.
Eazy getting beat up by Suge and his people.
You don't want that problem.
Well, I
wouldn't want that problem, shit.
For them, the slap story is pure fiction. After all, Suge Knight would have been risking a war with the Southside Crips, and that's not a gamble anyone would want to take.
Yeah, I watched that movie and stuff like that. I don't think that's true because Eazy had the whole Alondra behind him.
The same skepticism applies to the infamous story about Suge threatening Eazy's mother. While it's been said that Suge handed Eazy a piece of paper with her address on it, those close to the situation believe this was either blown out of proportion or never happened. That's also why a lot of people don't buy into the idea that Suge Knight could have been behind Eazy's death. Because, let's be real,
bro, we get it.
If Suge had been responsible, there's no way he'd still be alive today. With the Mexicans and the South.
All right, we get it, bro.
Thanks for tuning in to JV TV. Make sure you subscribe. Keep hip hop alive. We out of here.
And I know how it gets, so I gotta stay low, not move my knot. I don't trust no nigga, I don't trust no man, ain't no friends, everybody get shot. You never know how nigga gon' throw, I'm hitting the flow with a couple of shots. You better move, you better duck, either way to go, you'll get got.